You know, even though Lexus has an incredible reputation when it comes to quality and reliability, even when used, so many more of you buy luxury medium-sized SUVs from the likes of BMW, Audi and Mercedes-Benz than you do the Lexus NX. Which begs the question, like, why? Like, what's wrong with the NX? More importantly, what goes wrong with the NX? Are they seriously not worth considering if you're after a fancy medium-sized SUV? Let's find out. I've just got to pause for a second and say a massive thank you to WiperTech for supporting not only this video, but ReDriven in general. More on those guys later. So the NX goes head to head against the likes of the BMW X3, the Audi Q5 and the Mercedes-Benz GLC. But you could also throw the Volvo XC60, a couple of Land Rover and Range Rover models, and even a Porsche into the mix. And just like all of those, the NX is available in a host of different flavours. But as we're focusing on the used market, we're talking about the first generation 2014 to 2021 AZ10 NX. Yes, there is a newer and very sexy second generation NX available, but we're going to be focusing on that in the future. As far as this first gen goes, firstly, you're going to be choosing between pre and post update iterations. Visually, not a whole lot changed with the update, but the safety tech, equipment, and even some of the mechanical stuff was given some attention. And then you have the choice of two powertrains, one a hybrid and the other not. And depending on the model and trim spec, both are available as either front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. Speaking of models, it's pretty easy to understand. Pre-update, the non-hybrid is called the NX200T. Post-update, it was renamed the NX300, while the hybrid has always been called the NX300H. And trim spec-wise, again, really easy to navigate. 3 levels with a special edition thrown in to keep things exciting. But like any premium brand, there's also a whole bunch of optional enhancement packs available as well. But for all of the specific details, jump on ReDriven.com and check out our really informative and completely free ReDriven cheat sheet. Okay, now looks-wise, I feel like this is where Lexus may have lost some of you, because to put it kindly, this is quite polarizing. Even for me, when these first came out, was not into it. Didn't like the big grille, didn't like everything going on here. But then over time, not only have I become used to it, I actually really like it. It's funny, you know, when like the X3, the Q5 and the GLC, when they first came out in this kind of generation, they looked instantly attractive. But these days, I just kind of find them a bit meh, whatever. With this, because there's so much going on, at least it's still very interesting. But surprisingly for Lexus, there might be a few issues with the exterior, but we'll get to those in a second. Okay, now inside, firstly, we've got to talk about these seats. These might very well be the most comfortable car seats I've ever sat in. Like, they're the perfect amount of supportive, they're cushiony, but it feels just quality. They are so comfortable. I'd love this as an office chair, honestly. Beautiful seats. Now, next up, design-wise, look, some people don't like the overall interior design of this, and they're wrong. That's okay. It's totally okay to be wrong. For me, I think this looks fantastic. Again, because Lexus have kind of pushed a few little barriers as far as design-wise goes, there's a lot going on here. I feel like it's aging better than some of the other competitors. Like, those Mercedes and Audi and BMW interiors, even the Volvo, stuff like that. Gorgeous interiors, but they are looking a little bit dated. This for me just still feels new. It feels premium. It's just so bloody nice. Like, even in terms of the materials used, look, yes, there's a lot going on here, but everything feels top notch. Like, this leather up here feels great. Leather here is a different texture, but it's super soft. The wood grain here is nice. This like plastic surround, I don't know if the paint they use is different to normal like interior trim paint, but it just, I don't know, there's a gloss and a gleam to it that looks more premium. Here is nice. Even like this, you'd think this would be hard, scratchy plastic, but it's not. It's actually got a little bit of soft touch to it. It feels so quality. And again, back to the leather on these seats. This is one of the top spec sport luxury models or sports luxury models. So that, you get the premium leather, not the kind of fake leather. And the leather, even after all of these years, is super soft, super supple. There's no signs of kind of, grossness going on. Love it, bloody love it. Now, as far as wear and tear on this particular car goes, look, this is like a 2019 model. There's hardly any Ks on it, so it doesn't get a lot of use. But there are a couple little things. Like, firstly, the steering wheel texture, just going a tiny bit smooth at the moment. There's a little bit of wear and tear on this kind of silver plastic effect here. And like the touchpad, it's kind of going a little bit funky. Besides that, but like door cards are fantastic. The seats, as I said, are great. Yeah, pretty close to a new feeling car. Just another thing I love, like all the things you use all the time, like the indicators and windscreen wipers and all these buttons, like just the tactility, the feeling of all the buttons, it just feels good. It feels premium. Now, in terms of practicality, loads. First up, obviously, door bins. They're an excellent size. You've got a spot for, life's filth, like fingernails and bits of hair and stuff like that down there. But the cool thing is, it's actually felt lined down there, so it's nice and cushy for your bits of fingernails and skin. You've got a spot, in this particular model, a charging pad for your phone here, storage cubby hole here, couple of cup holders there. Really good size glove box. Nowhere for your sunnies. Nothing under the seats, I don't think. But here's a fun one. There's a little hidden storage space here, but there's a mirror on this. So that'd be good for, I don't know, like a credit card maybe? Don't know. Interesting. Now in the back seat, I'm exactly 9 centimetres taller than iconic frontman from INXS, Michael Hutchence. This is in my driving position, and just like the front, it is so comfy back here. First of all, the seats, again, so comfortable. Lexus seat comfort, well done. Space-wise, great amount of knee room. It doesn't feel claustrophobic in here, even though the colours are quite dark. Actually, speaking of the colours, love this colour combination. I'm not normally into like coloured leather interiors, but this kind of deep maroon, Shiraz red, beautiful, suits the car. Yeah, super comfy. Also, how's this? Even though this does have like a prop shaft, the transmission tunnel is almost flat. So even if you're sitting in the middle, you still have a good amount of seat room or foot room. Yeah, beautiful back here. In terms of wear and tear in the back seat, none. In saying that, the car is kind of recent, not many Ks, and doesn't get used in the back seat really at all. Now, practicality in the back seat, like the front, really good. Decent sized door bins, and they're put in a position that you don't need to dislocate your shoulder or your elbow to get stuff out of it. Another little spot for life's filth here, but again, it's also felt lined. You've got a couple of map pockets, you've got your own air vents. This being a sports luxury, you also have heated rear seats, and the pull down armrest has cup holders that come out to present themselves in like a slow and premium manner. Look at that, beautiful. Oh, also, I nearly forgot as well, like most cars in this class, the rear seats can, change the angle of the backrest, but on this, they're done with a button rather than a lever. How good's that? Now, in terms of boot practicality, not great news, unfortunately. This is one of the smallest boots in this class. Plus, on the earlier and some of the lower spec models, there's no way of folding the seats flat from the boot. You've actually got to go around to the side and pull a lever from the side of the rear seat like some kind of loser. The good news is, but in higher spec models, you actually have little buttons where you can do it from over here. They're powered down. Takes a little bit of time, but convenient. Okay, good news first up. No matter which NX you're looking at, they all have Bluetooth connectivity and USB inputs for your phone. If you want Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, that came standard fitted from 2019 onwards. But the good news is, even from 2017 onwards, you can get CarPlay and Android Auto retrofitted by Lexus. But for pre-2017 NXs, look, you can fit that stuff, but it's going to have to be with aftermarket equipment. But besides that, look, Lexus have always offered loads of stuff as standard for their vehicles when compared to the competition. So even in the early base spec models, you're going to still get a box load of toys. We're talking heated front seats, auto headlights and wipers, a powered tailgate, actually powered everything pretty much, plus all of this and more. But spec up to a more recent and higher trim spec model, and chances are, if you want it, it's got it. We're talking an incredible sounding 14 speaker Mark Levinson stereo, a larger screen, 360-degree cameras, wireless phone charging, plus all of this and more. However, there are some concerns. See, many owners have complained so much about using the infotainment system because of the trackpad, they've even considered selling the car. And if I were, say, right-handed or driving a left-hand drive car, I'd get it. But the thing is, I'm left-handed, and this feels completely natural because I use a trackpad every day just like this. Plus, it's got this nice little kind of palm support, so it's actually really easy to use on the drive rather than like trying to hit a touchscreen when you're bouncing around all over the place. So personally, I like it, but yeah, if you're right-handed or in a left-hand drive market and left-handed, I get why this would be a pain in the ass. Also, not only that, if you've watched any of our other videos, especially on Toyotas, you'll know that some of the Toyota and Lexus infotainment systems can be pretty shit. So yeah, if you're not into all this sort of stuff, kind of understand why. Now, as far as safety goes, guys, it's a Lexus. It's loaded with safety gear, and hence ANCAP have awarded it a 5-star ANCAP safety rating. But to take you through exactly what safety features you can expect, we're going to cut to another voiceover, but this time we're going to have someone that's a representative of the main demographic of people that buy Lexuses do the voiceover. It's my dad.
So what am I doing?
These are the safety features for a Lexus NX. It's like an SUV.
Standard safety features on the NX includes 8 airbags, traction control, ABS, EBD, ESC and a host of other acronyms. However, later and higher spec models can also include blind spot monitoring, recross traffic alert, and pre-collision safety systems.
Again, guys, for all the specifics, ReDriven.com, check out the cheat sheet. Okay, so this is the part of the video where I'm going to have a go at a couple of my mates, unfortunately. See, when we make these videos, when we research these videos, we read through other reviews and watch other videos on them. And when researching this, a few motoring journalists mentioned that when you really push the NX hard through the corners, it does start to understeer and it gets a bit funny on the limit and the steering all gets a bit vague. Guys, it's a Lexus NX, it's not a bloody Ferrari. In what world is anyone buying an NX for its cornering and performance abilities? So, in an attempt to avoid any typical car journalist wankery, we're going to do this in a real world kind of way. Is it comfy? Yes, and that's thanks to this being a post-2017 update NX. See, the pre-2017s, there were some criticisms that the suspension was a bit overly firm and it didn't feel quite as refined as some of the Euro competitors. But this being a post-2017 NX and being a sports luxury means it's on adaptive suspension, and that suspension does a fantastic job. Also, if you switch the car into its sportier modes, which I doubt anyone that owns a Lexus NX is ever going to do, it does firm the ride up. That's not necessarily a good thing, especially on Sydney roads. Just keep it in normal mode.
Does it handle?
That's starting to sound like typical car journo wanker speak.
Sorry, what's it like at going around corners?
Well, it's fine. Like, the steering feels really nice. If you go into a corner too fast, it does kind of roll a little bit. If you go into a corner a bit more slowly, it doesn't roll so much. It's good. Also, in terms of handling, vision out is really good from the front end, so it's actually really easy to judge the front parameters of the car.
Is it easy to park?
Well, let's find out. Select reverse, obviously go back. Now, there are cameras and sensors everywhere. There's a bit of a blind spot over your old left-hand shoulder there, but it's covered by the camera and the sensors, and there we go. That's a park. Is it easy to park? Yes.
Will it overtake?
Yes, it will. Look, again, these are not a performance SUV. This particular one is an NX300, which means it's got the 2-litre turbo engine, therefore not the hybrid. And yeah, you floor it and it gets up and boogies just fine. Basically, look, it overtakes, it pulls into traffic, it merges on the freeway super easily. The only criticism I've really got is that the gearbox, it's a little bit slow in response. So you floor it and it's kind of like, what? Okay, what's going on? Almost like it's got a slight hangover.
It's a few years old. Are there any rattles?
Guys, it's a Lexus. There's no rattles, there's no squeaks, no weird noises. There is a little bit of road and wind noise when you're on the freeway, but in saying that, a lot of the demographic that buy a Lexus, some of them are suffering from some hearing loss, so that shouldn't be a problem anyway. And if your hearing is really good, we'll just turn up the amazing stereo because it sounds epic.
Does it feel as special as the Euro alternatives?
Yes, it does. Basically, it ticks all of the premium medium-sized SUV boxes, so it more than matches the Europeans. In fact, it might more than match the Europeans for a longer period of time.
But doesn't driving a Lexus make you uncool?
No, because see, embracing the uncool is what makes you cool. See, driving like the obviously cool cars like the X3 or the Q5 or any Land Rover or Range Rover, they're just predictable. That's why like an XC60 and this are just cool. And even cooler is that like you have to be in the know to know. You know what I mean? Now, remember how I mentioned before that these things share, especially in hybrid form, a whole bunch of components with the Toyota RAV4? That's a really good thing because unlike some of the other premium brands, parts on this should be affordable and easy to get. For example, let's say, hypothetically, you need a new water pump. A genuine Toyota or Lexus water pump on one of these is around about $400. An Audi Q5 water pump, and not a genuine one, like an aftermarket one, around about $900. The genuine one is even more expensive. And here's a fun fact, that Audi Q5 water pump, it's mainly made of plastic. This one is mainly metal. So don't for a second think that European parts are superior because most of the time they aren't. Also, Toyota, and therefore Lexus, have arguably the biggest support network of any of the manufacturers. So no matter where you are, you should be able to get support with one of these, unlike some of the other premium brands. Also, when it comes to the hybrid NXs, theoretically you can get most of the advantages of having an EV without any of the range anxiety. Now, you know what's really important when you're driving, and especially when it's raining? Being able to see where you're going, and that's where WiperTech comes in. WiperTech wipers are quick and easy to order, quick and easy to install, they fit perfectly, and you can save money buying them by clicking the link down there in the description. Go check out WiperTech, they're awesome. Now, after all of that positivity, time to come crashing back down to earth. What goes wrong with the Lexus NX? You're probably thinking, well, nothing, because it's a Lexus. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Now, in terms of the exterior, there was a service bulletin put out for the 2015 and 2016 models regarding the indicators. Basically, these things kind of glitched out and in some cases failed altogether. The good news is most of those issues should have been resolved by now. Next up, there have been a few reports of some of the driver assistance technology playing up. Things like the AEB slowing the car down when it shouldn't. Some owners have reported some issues with the sunroof basically being a bit slow in operation or even sometimes not closing when it's supposed to. Now inside, as I mentioned, there have been plenty of complaints about the usability of the infotainment system, but also with some cars that have had CarPlay and Android Auto fitted aftermarket, there have been reports of the screens glitching out and failing. Also, there have been these are rare reports of just some electronic gremlins, things like headlights, wipers, things like that just not working. Now, before we get into mechanically what goes wrong with the NX, a huge thank you to our viewer Darren for lending us his NX. Actually, just on that, if you have a car that you think would make an awesome ReDriven video, and you're based in Sydney or Newcastle or somewhere close, let us know in the comments because chances are we'd love to feature your car. Also, a massive thank you to everybody in the Lexus community for helping us research this video, and a massive thank you to you for supporting us. Honestly, hitting those like and subscribe buttons, it helps us out so much. If you really want to support ReDriven, why not join our Patreon? The link's down there in the description somewhere. Okay, mechanically, what goes wrong with the Lexus NX? Look, I'd love to tell you, but I can't because I'm not a mechanic. If only we had a resident mechanic. Actually, we do. It's Jim.
So, Lexus NX. Yeah, right. I really don't have much for you. Look, we threw all our resources at this like we always do and dug really deep and came up with pretty much all. Look, in all seriousness, these are by far one of the most reliable second-hand cars you can buy, and especially compared to its competitors in this segment, like a X3 or a Q5. Way more reliable than those. Look, no car is perfect though. There are a few things to talk about. Occasionally you're going to get a leaking water pump or a failed coil pack like every car, but actually probably less than most with one of these. Look, in the NX 300 and the 200T, they have the 8AR FTS engine, and it is probably more complicated than most of its competitors. There is a lot more to go wrong in those engines, but so far, Lexus have absolutely nailed it and nothing is going wrong so far. Look, like every car, there are a couple of recalls you need to look out for. There's a few with the ABS system, there's some with the park brake or the hill hold function, and a couple with the low pressure fuel pump as well. They're all on the cheat sheet, by the way. Look, overall, from a mechanical perspective, I just really don't know why in this class you would buy anything else.
Okay, so should you buy one? I think we know the answer to this. Yes, of course you should. In fact, this is the luxury mid-sized SUV that you should buy. But obviously just make sure it has a full and thorough service history and make sure you watch our ultimate used car buyer's guide before you buy one. But will you buy one? Because you guys keep buying other brands. Like, it's funny, you know, when it comes to feats of engineering like cameras, high-end hi-fi equipment and musical instruments, complex electronics, architecture, watches, even the most intricate and precise edible delicacies, Japan is regarded as the world leader. And there's no hesitation when it comes to equating Japanese manufacturing with being arguably the best in the world. Yet, when it comes to cars, again, something Japan is renowned for, no matter how often Lexus tops reliability and customer satisfaction surveys, no matter that Lexus prove time and time again that they can match and often beat their competitors in every facet of the automotive experience, the sales figures show that people would rather spend their hard-earned cash on brands that are known to be, well, to put it kindly, a bit disappointing. But that's the power of marketing, I suppose, because no matter how good these things are, chances are you're just going to buy something from Europe anyway. Such a shame. Anyway, has this convinced you to buy an NX, or are you going to stick with one of the Euro alternatives? Why? Why not? Let us know in the comments. See you next time. But guys, for the it's good until then. I suppose it represent the age demographic of people that generally Now remember how I mentioned before that the RAV4, sorry, the RAV4. theoretically, you can get most of the advantages of it. Now, before we get into mechanically rot.
Look, in all seriousness, way more reliable. In fact, they're so reliable, I can't even end this sentence. Sorry, I'm so sorry.